start to Ipswich Town season faces its toughest test so far, with a string of 4 games against top 6 opponents starting this weekend at Hillsborough. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward and you're listening to Watching to the Prematch show, brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound Pub in Ipswich. We are live, as this introduction will no doubt confirm. And one way or the other, we want to hear from you tonight. Get in the comments, let us know your predictions, your lineups, your thoughts, your worries, your anxieties, or your confidence boosters for the rest of us. Join me to discuss it all. Pre-match show buddy Seb Brown. Seb, how are you? And talk to us about the shirt behind you.
Hello, mate. I'm good. Yeah, I was going through what I had in the wardrobe that was linked to Sheffield Wednesday, and I suddenly remembered Carlos Edwards scoring from pretty far out, I think, in about February 2010. And it was kind of a run of results that got us away from any kind of relegation danger in King's first season, which I guess we probably weren't expecting at the start of that season. But yeah, it's a good luck omen with a win at Hillsborough. I can't wear it tomorrow because in the resulting 12 years, my body shape has changed. So I can't wear it tomorrow. So I thought I'd air it tonight. And yeah, hopefully it's a good luck omen for tomorrow.
For display purposes only. I mean, a lot of my football shirt rack is similar to that. That's lockdowns. We can blame lockdowns for that. As we mentioned off the top, we are live tonight. We really want to hear from you guys in the chat. Great to see some of you with us already. Charlie, as always. Honey Badger Games, evening to you. Michael, joining us from Brisbane as always. Evening to Tony, one of the Telegram group. Loving the Winston Churchill. I didn't look at that before I put that up there. There you go. Historic though, so it's fine. Charlie, big game, but I'm confident we will get the job done. We'll see how confident Seb is as we as the evening no doubt progresses. Evening to Skip. Evening to Mullet. Hello to Mullet. First time I think I've seen you on the live chat for a while. Good evening to you. Evening to David, another ever present. Honey Badger Games is going for biggest game yet, I would say. Seb, do you agree? And when is the next biggest game yet?
Yeah, definitely the biggest test so far we've had. We'll come on to Sheffield Wednesday and try and find crumbs of weakness that we can hopefully take something away from. And then obviously we've got this crazy run, haven't we, of Plymouth next week, I guess, international call-ups dependent. And then we've got obviously Pompey and then Cambridge. So yeah, big run against 3 of the top 5 coming up?
6, yeah.
6, yeah.
Yeah, Cambridge are 6th. So I did do that bit of research in advance, so we could talk about it. Evening to Jules. He's going for a 2-1. There we go. Evening to Gary. And he's interesting from Gary. Straight off the bat here, Seb. We've got a rest Wes. Hashtag rest Wes.
We'll come on to the formations, won't we? Because you had an idea on the post-match reaction show about a formation change as well. So we'll discuss that in a minute, I guess.
But what do I know? What do I know?
What do you know? Yeah.
We'll find out tomorrow, won't we? Evening to A. The biggest game is always the next one. Quite right, regardless of the opposition. Evening to Stephen. Can't wait for the trip tomorrow to Hillsborough. Got his lucky socks ready. 3 points, please. If you've got any lucky things, omens, and maybe we don't share them. Maybe that's the whole point, in keeping to themselves. But yeah, a lot of people at this point in this season will now be thinking, "Do I not wash my shirt again?"
Yeah, so do the same routine. Yeah, drink from the same coffee cup in the morning. Do your normal pre-match. Listen to the same things on the way to the ground. Hopefully, this show.
Listen to us.
Yeah, whatever you're doing, obviously for the past 8 games, please continue it for a little while longer.
Doing it. David, a massive supporter for the podcast. At it again with the super chat. We love you, David. Thank you so much for that generosity. A mug, a Blue Monday mug, is winging its way to you as a thank you from us. The least we can do. And if you want to also get yourself some Blue Monday merch, we've got free shipping for the next 24 hours. So head to our store, the link above, bluemonday.itfc.co.uk. So sort yourself out there. Anthony Gio's 3 points in the bag. Sounds confident there, but I think he finishes with David's going for a 1-1. We'll get our predictions sorted towards the end of the show. And Mullet's here with his consumer advice. Please wash your shirts, people, especially if you're standing next to Mullet. In terms of bits and pieces of news, Seb, it's not. We dealt with the key event of the week with both you and I. We're talking about. I just saw that Aren't you two a couple of Blue Monday mugs? There you go. Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, enjoying that one. Bants. Hashtag Bants. We talked about the main event midweek, the victory over Bristol Rovers. A lot of people very happy after that. You can listen to that show back if you are looking for something to fill the time, depending on when you're travelling down or up to Hillsborough on Saturday. If you need some extra time to be filled in there, that was quite an enjoyable show, and a cameo from yours truly towards the end there. But I guess we'll talk about Cameron Burgess a little bit, Seb, when we talk about our lineups. I guess the big debate at the moment, we'll deal with this briefly, and then we'll just talk about the main business, which is Sheffield Wednesday. But all of these international call-ups, and you mentioned that you alluded to it, Plymouth. Latest news tonight is that we've got another call-up, right? Do you want to divulge that?
So Cameron Stewart's been called up to the Irish under 21s, I think it is, for the first time. So I guess technically now we do have 3 players away on international duty. Obviously, he's not registered in the senior squad because of his age, so I don't know if that affects if we are allowed to call the game off or not. Personally, I wouldn't. As long as Morsey isn't called up by Egypt, I think we can deal with missing Burns, because we've seen earlier in the season people can come in and fill a slot for him. Gregley, I think, is a great player, but he is the backup left back. So again, whilst he'd be missed from the bench, we do have other options that can come in. And like I say, with Morsey available, I would definitely look to play that game. We saw 3 years ago the damage that postponing games could do. If we do get a decent result tomorrow, a win would be fantastic. We'd probably all take a point now, or most of us probably would. And if we can keep that momentum going into home park against Plymouth next weekend, then momentum is such a key thing. We saw it in the relegation the first year down. We cancelled matches because we had people away, and then we were playing catch up and we never got back in our stride again. And so if it was me personally, by all means play it, as long as Morsey isn't one of the ones to get called up.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And the logic there is sound, isn't it? And yeah, momentum, as you said, and the risk you've got is an away trip to Plymouth ends up being a Tuesday night, doesn't it? And I'm all for annoying Sky, and we can divulge a little bit more about why Sky are annoying me. But we'll talk about that later. But that's the risk, isn't it? And we don't want a Tuesday night game. I guess the other option is maybe if we get knocked out of the FA Cup in the opening couple of rounds, maybe, then that frees up a weekend towards the end of the year, maybe. But yeah, you just don't want it. You get the fixtures done, and if you've got as close to a full strength team as you can, then I think you just got to go for it. So we'll keep a watching brief on that situation there, and I'm sure McKenna and Pert have got better plans and strategies in place for this type of situation than maybe our few previous managers may have had. Let's do a few more comments before we start looking into and drilling into in detail what Sheffield Wednesday are about. Evening to MW. All off to Sheffield Wednesday 3-1 Town. Let's go. Michael, 4-2 loss. No, Michael, don't. 3-2 for Honey Badger. Mr. Ipswich Town. Paul Lambert there. Draw written all over it like Sheffield Wednesday rock. Evening to Stevie. I feel more confident about these sort of games than in the past. I reckon we may win 2-1. Fingers crossed. My feelings are right. And A's quite right with you there, Seb. Got to maintain the momentum. Should we drill into, I keep saying drill into, that sounds really wrong. Should we talk about Sheffield Wednesday, Sebastian? Tell us all about where Sheffield Wednesday find themselves so far this season.
Well, basically, like us, they're just really, really good at football. So they're currently sitting 4th in League One.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in. More insight like that in weeks to come.
Quality.
No, they're currently sitting 4th in League One, 16 points, played 8, won 5, drawn 1. They have lost 2 games so far this season. Obviously, we're unbeaten. They have lost twice, and there is an argument amongst their fans that the 2 losses are against the 2 strongest sides they've played in Peterborough and Barnsley. So we'll come on to their sort of recent form in a minute. The 3 wins were against Morecambe, Forest Green Rovers, and Bolton. Probably, I guess, maybe Bolton aside, you should be beating the likes of Morecambe and Forest Green if you've got eyes on promotion and eyes on being at the right side of the table. And the 2 defeats, like I said, Barnsley at home, which was a bit of a shock, I thought. It was the one where Norwood scores from the corner with a really good header. Yeah, a lot of their, on the message boards and stuff, people said they just simply didn't turn up that day. I guess it was a Yorkshire derby, wasn't it? So sometimes with derbies, form tends to go out the window. And they lost to Peterborough 2-0 as well, but they played the vast majority of that game with 10 men. They're an early sending off, which I guess kind of impacted on the result there. But a lot of their message boards were saying that Bolton aside in the opening game, we've not been tested yet. We've had a pretty standard kind of run of games and the games that we should be beating. So they're sort of seeing this is a big test for us and their biggest test of the season. But equally, some of their fans were also saying, well, hang on a minute, we did lose to the 2 sides, who are kind of there in the table. So it's going to be a really, really interesting game. They played midweek on Tuesday night, and they won 3-0 at Morecambe. It took a while to get the breakthrough. They didn't score until the 70th odd minute. 2 goals from corners. Mr. Barry Bannon, that we shall discuss in greater depth, had a pretty sparkling game. To be honest, it was 3-0 in the end. 3 late goals from the 70th minute onwards from Windass, George Byers, and Michael Smith. Barry Bannon, 2 assists from the first 2 left-footed in-swinging corners.
Identical goals, weren't they?
They were absolutely exactly identical. The same. Yeah, sort of near post. Identical kind of goals. And I guess that's what you need sometimes if you're, 70th minute and you're frustrated by Morecambe, because they absolutely dominated the game, but they couldn't make that breakthrough. Sometimes you just need that, that corner to, like we saw at Accrington, it can make a world of difference if you've got that in your armoury. They completely dominated the game, 71% possession, 29 shots with 11 on target, 9 corners. And that's what this jumped out at me. They completed 707 passes in that game. And as a comparison, obviously, we played Bristol Rovers and were very dominant. We completed 592. So they made over 100 more passes than us, which kind of shows the absolute dominance they had. And Barry Bannon was just absolutely superb. He had 152 touches. I think he made 10 key passes, had 5 shots, as well as his 2 assists. So he's warmed up nicely for tomorrow, which is probably not a great thing for us.
And basically plays where he wants. I mean, we'll talk about his role in their system shortly. Worth noting before we move on from those 2 defeats, both of them 2 goal defeats and no goal scored either. So that might bode well. Obviously, mitigating circumstances around that Peterborough defeat, as you mentioned, with the sending off. But there was some, not the best defending against Barnsley. But I think Mike Duff has figured out, how to play teams like us and Sheffield Wednesday. And it'll be interesting to see whether we've had a chat with him and glean any useful insights. But I think, to be fair, Seb, and we'll talk about the way they play football. It feels like high press and forcing mistakes might be our best bet, as well as trying to impose our game on them. But we shall see. Last season, as we recall, defeat in the playoffs. A tricky one against Sunderland, wasn't it? But dramatic, wasn't it? It
was a strange one, wasn't it? Because they lost at the Stadium of Light, took a 1-0 back to Hillsborough, and I kind of thought that second leg, because under the lights, obviously, the midweek return game, I kind of thought that game would be hell for leather and, them really, really going for it. And they were very calm and very patient. They get the breakthrough in the 74th minute through Lee Gregory, but they kind of, they never really sort of went hell for leather on it. So I was a bit surprised. It was a little bit more subdued than I was expecting. I was expecting a bit of a classic, and it certainly just didn't end up kind of being that. Obviously they then equalised, and was it the 93rd, 94th minute? I think Patrick Roberts sent them to Wembley, and we know what happens at Wembley. They go up quite comfortably. So it was a strange one. I mean, across the 2 legs, we kind of billed it as the ultimate League One playoff because it was the 2 biggest attendances in League One playoff history, and they absolutely kind of not bottled it, but they didn't do what.
Thought you were going to say the B word.
No, they didn't do what I thought they would do in the second leg, which I just found strange.
Let's talk about Darren Moore very briefly. I remember our pre-season pod with Gab. Both you and Gab were a little bit unsure of Darren Moore. I think maybe Gab more than you, but I think that's because there's a West Midlands kind of bias maybe in there. But I think you both were of the opinion that a tricky start for them and Moore might be under pressure. What's your thoughts on him now? I mean, his style of play, we know his team against Doncaster, we kind of toiled to that 1-1 draw, I remember, in the first season down under Lambert, and probably they deserve to beat us. And he tries to play the right style, doesn't he? He's a defender by trade, obviously, former player for West Brom. Big physical presence, but his teams try and play the right way, don't they, Seb?
Yeah, they do. I think it'll be quite an interesting, quite an entertaining game tomorrow. It's 2 kind of, passing footballing sides. I mentioned earlier they had over 700 passes against Morecambe in the week, so they like to get the ball down and kind of knock it around. He's kind of built the defence very much in his own kind of image. We'll come on to them and the physicality and the size and stuff. Yeah, we'll come on to that when we go through kind of the lineup. But I just thought at the start of the season, it reminded them. It reminded me of us last year, where there was so much pressure going into it. They had an amazing window. We'll come on to the window in a minute. They made loads of good signings. And I just kind of thought that if they were to get off to a slow start, given the owner they've got, Chanziri, I kind of thought he wouldn't hesitate to pull the trigger if he felt he needed to. But they've started, they've started okay, and his record is actually really good at League One level. If you take out the kind of 3 or 4 months he had in the Championship when he couldn't keep them up, we're kind of looking at a 1.87 points per game based on last season in League One and the first 8 games of this season. So he's adapted to League One life really, really easily. Fair enough, given the kind of quality of player that he's got. But I like him as a manager. I thought he was harshly done by West Brom. He kind of galvanised West Brom and nearly kept them up, didn't he, in the relegation from the Premier League season. I think we were the team that we played against when he got fired. Didn't Nolan score at Hawthorns? And
yes,
I think, they were still in the playoffs.
I was there.
And then, they were still in the playoffs, and then suddenly they announced after the game that he was on the way out. But I thought it was harshly done by there. Did a good job at Doncaster, and now he's obviously got a chance to get one of the giants back up to the Championship.
Indeed. You talked about the strengthening. I mean, some really chunky spendings that's happened there, including players on free transfers, including from teams who were promoted to the Championship last time out and maybe regretting perhaps not sticking around at Rotherham, given their start to the life end of the Championship. But there's some ex-ITFC interest in there as well, Seb, and some interesting pronunciations for you to get your teeth into. So tell us about the arrivals.
I've done my research. I was listening to Kings of Anglia on the way into work.
Not Ross. Ross is not the person.
No. Stuart Watson pronounced one of the centre backs from Rotherham, so I mentally noted it. As soon as I got to work, I wrote out the phonetic pronunciation to make this easier on myself.
Brilliant. It's Mark McGuinness.
McGuinness. Yeah. Great. Yeah, no, a window of 11 arrivals, and they've got a pretty strong kind of ITFC kind of former either loanees or former players that we know quite a bit about. 9 departures, I guess, as you would expect. The first season you don't go back after a relegation. You kind of have to naturally let some players go. But the key arrivals, Michael Smith from Rotherham is one we all know. He scored against us, didn't he, in the late 80s?
That game on Sky.
Yeah, 19 goals last season as Rotherham won the league. So I guess for whatever reason he decided to make the short trip down the M1 to join Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah, probably. And they did a double deal, didn't they? They signed Michael Ihikwe, the centre half, on loan. That's what Stuart Watson said. I'm going by what he says.
Okay.
He joined as a centre-back option as well from Rotherham in a double deal. Malik Wilkes joined quite late on from Hull in the window. And then got this ex-ITFC contingent of obviously David Stockdale in goal. Mark McGuinness, formerly a loanee at us from Arsenal, wasn't it, in the second year down. And obviously Mr. Backinson, or Bakinson as you will refer to. Yeah, Bakinson as you will refer to him as. He obviously joined them on a permanent, didn't he, when he kind of was out in the cold at Bristol City. We didn't take him, and they kind of was wondering where exactly he could end up going, but thankfully he got himself a club in the end.
And we've got some. I like Mike Ben Hennigan, signed from AFC Wimbledon. He's in there. We've Alex Mighton from Forest is a good loan. I mean, they chucked certainly some big money at strikers, didn't they? Still got Lee Gregory. We'll talk about him, and probably in terms of in terms of the outgoings, there's no massive surprises there. We'll deal with those very briefly. But probably the biggest bit of business is retaining Barry Bannon, isn't it? Albeit he's not as young as he used to be, but still a Championship quality player, isn't he?
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I was listening to the pre-match presser, and obviously, Darren Moore is kind of waxing lyrical about him, and he's just simply, he's like some of the players we have at this level. He's just too good, isn't he? He should be in the Championship at the least. I guess he's getting on a little bit now, which might go against him, but they play him in that number 10 role, and he's just got the freedom to dictate games. And he's such a classy player with his left foot. He's a really, really nice little tidy player. He's actually the smallest player in their team, but he's got quite a low centre of gravity, so he's quite hard to knock off the ball as well. And he's just a really, really classy player.
In terms of players going out, as we mentioned, Mendes Lang, Berahino, I don't think much of a surprise there. Che Dunkley, I think maybe we've raised our eyebrows a little about that, maybe more because it's good business by Shrewsbury. Sam Hutchinson went up to Reading. Massimo Luongo, you've helpfully noted down here. I was going to ask where he's gone to, but has recently signed a short-term deal at Borough. But it feels like that's strengthened, hasn't it? There's no that's not a weaker window over the kind of the net position. A lot more bodies, particularly up front, a lot more options. Maybe
if you're upgrading Mendes Lang and Berahino, aren't you? And you're getting the likes of Michael Smith, Mighton, Malik Wilkes, and you're massively upgrading that part of the pitch, which, as you know, is what you need at this level.
Talk to us about systems and style of play. Then I think we've kind of alluded to it being a short passing game, quite similar to ours. Maybe a slightly different formation, a little bit of experimentation, but you're expecting them to revert to type on Saturday against us.
I think so, yeah. They played a 4-2-2-2 against Morecambe in midweek and obviously had that absolutely amazing kind of dominating performance. But that would be suicidal, wouldn't it, to do that against
different type
us?
of opposition, really, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not going to be doing that against us. Most of the season, they've played a 3 at the back system. It's normally a 3-4-1-2 with Bannon in the number 10 role behind 2 strikers. And if I was a betting man, I would vastly expect them to go back to that tomorrow, because there's no chance you're going to line up with a relatively untested formation against us without sounding big-headed. And obviously we play a 3 at the back system, so I guess you'd naturally want to try and match it up. And that's what they know. That's what they've played the vast majority of time back at this level. So I think he's very much, Darren Moore came out in the press conference today and said it was horses for courses on Tuesday night. I was just simply doing that. I'll amend formations as and when I see fit. And I think that was basically telling us that it'll go back to the 3 at the back, the solid base for the game against us tomorrow.
It's interesting to think whether the 70 minutes, wasn't it, when the goal came in, whether that gamble paid off. If they hadn't scored the set piece, whether that would have been a different outcome there. But I think it sounded like Morecambe were holding on a little bit. I mean, looking at this, the centre backs maraud forward, don't they? You've got Iorfa in there and McGuinness in there, both who want to move forward. Iorfa down the right, McGuinness down the left, and you've got your wide players in Palmer and Johnson who just bomb on. It's very similar to us, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very much so. The only difference is they have the 2 out-and-out kind of strikers. We obviously play the 2 number 10s. I guess Chaplin, you can almost class as an extra kind of striker the way he gets forward. But it's going to be 2 very, very similarly lined up sides. Stockdale will be the keeper. Obviously, we know all about him. Had that loan spell in must be 10 years ago now. Mustn't it? 10, 11 years ago. We had that year, didn't we? We had like loads of loan keepers, one after the other. I think it was under Jewel, wasn't it? He'll be the keeper. I think they'll bring Iorfa back in. He was rested in midweek. I think he'll come back in as the right-sided centre-back. Hickwey will be the centre of the 3, and Mark McGuinness will be on the left-hand side. Then, like you say, Liam Palmer and Johnson will be the full-backs. Byers will be one of the midfielders. He's not a complete sitter. They brought in the guy from Cardiff in the summer, who's kind of an out-and-out trained central defensive midfielder. Byers will get forward. He scored the other night. He will look to get involved in that right-hand kind of channel. Backinson, I guess, is one who started the first, 4 games of the season, but he didn't figure in midweek. A lot of their fans on the message boards were saying they felt he was a bit jaded after a load of, I guess he joined relatively late in the window, so we're not sure where he is fitness-wise. He could well be alongside Byers in the central of midfield, or it'll be Deli Bashiru, who's just come back from an injury, and then it'll be Bannon in the 10, and the 2 strikers likely to be Lee Gregory and Josh Windass. Josh Windass is their key striker so far this season. He's got 3 goals and 4 assists, and obviously Bannon's got the 3 assists. Michael Smith, they're kind of breaking him in a little bit. I think he's only started 1 game so far this year. Wilkes has yet to start. So some of the arrivals from the summer, they're looking to get up to full fitness before they integrate them in the team.
I think there's a bit of an audio issue. I don't know if it's still occurring for you, Seb. Can you hear it?
I can hear it from time to time. Yeah, I've switched my phone off. Apologies to anybody. I've switched my phone off, but I can still hear it coming through. So I don't know where it's coming from.
It might be me. So when I just muted myself. Then did it make any difference?
It comes and goes. I can hear it every now and again. So if you've got your phone, just ping it off for
there's something interfering there. So apologies if you're picking that up. We'll do our best to try and prevent that, but not a huge amount we can do. Let's talk about style of play. I'll try and find some bits and pieces here to give some confidence
and
crumbs. And you said strong defensively. They're joint highest scorers at home, aren't they? Along with Portsmouth and Cambridge and Peterborough, ironically. Big physical team, but concede a lot of fouls. Maybe that's an opportunity, Seb?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, they're very strong defensively. They've had 5 clean sheets so far this season in the 8 games. So they are very much a side like us, built on, a completely solid base with that back 3 and then letting the attacking players kind of work their magic. They are a physical side. I think McKenna alluded to it, didn't he, in yesterday's pre-match presser. The average height of the keeper and the centre-backs the whole defence actually is 6'2". Backinson, we know, is a big lad. He's 6'1". Gregory's 6'1". So it's a side full of kind of, tall players. I guess we're going to be missing Cameron Burgess. So potentially, you just said a minute ago, they are the decent from set pieces. They scored twice against from corners against Morecambe on Tuesday night. So, they are going to be a threat from set pieces. And without Burgess in our team, it's important that we, get our zonal marking right. And we really look after that, because that's a big part of their game. You're on mute, Richard. You're on mute.
Can you hear me okay? I've changed the microphone.
You're quite muffled. You sound like you're underwater. I'll keep talking. Like you said, they're very much a foul-y bunch as well. They average kind of 12 fouls per game, and they've had 2 red cards so far this season as well. One was in the game we mentioned earlier against Peterborough, which they ultimately lost 2-0. So they are a bit of a, they're certainly not an Eshousery kind of team, but they won't be afraid, to take one and kind of, get yellows. And obviously, like I said, they've had a couple of reds. So potentially, I guess with Morsey in midfield, you could be looking at him to maybe kind of wind a couple of them up to try and use that to our advantage.
Have they? So for us in central midfield, you got Morsey and Evans, and both kind of contribute, don't they? And you got Harness and Chapman dropping in. If teams mark Bannon out of the game, if that's possible, does that? Who is the person who's going to bring in the creativity and create chances for them? Because I don't think Backinson's that kind of player for me. Is it getting the ball wide? Maybe is that their only real option if Bannon's isolated out of the game? I don't think
it would be, but if they start Dele Bashiru, he'll be a big threat from central midfield as well. He'll look to get forward and kind of link that play. He's played out wide in his career. He'll be the one who kind of looks to kind of, get forward and support those strikers if you can keep Bannon quiet. But the trouble with Bannon is, I remember the show we did last year, I likened him to Alan Judge under us. He will just go all over the pitch. He'll start in the number 10 role, but if you look at his heat map for this season, and certainly for last year where he's played in a similar role, he will go all around the pitch looking to pick up the ball. So you run that risk, don't you? If you put somebody on him specifically and follow him out to a touchline, then suddenly you've got a whole ton of space for the likes of Byers and Dele Bashiru or the 2 wing backs to get forward, and that's going to be one of the key battles.
We'll talk about us in a sec, but let's go to the comments. And again, apologies if the audio issues are persisting. It might be one that we have to fix after the show. So apologies for that. Need to get some new equipment, maybe, or maybe there's some people doing some stuff next door that I can't hear. But apologies for that. Mr. Ipswich Town, I think 5 points from the next 3 would be a good return. Blue, I think we can win tomorrow, but it won't be disappointed if we come away unbeaten with a good performance and a point. I think a lot of focus there in that, aren't they? And I can understand that. Even to James from Pennsylvania, who's going for a 3-1. A lot of people agreeing with 5 points minimum over the next 3. Well, let's go for a 4-0 confidence. What else have we got? Yeah, Jules, 4. The beer's on me, Mullet, if we do, bud. HCH, Wednesday have had a tough start. Real danger. What else have we got here? Yeah, Jules, battle of the midfields tomorrow. Thoughts on that one, Seb? I think that's probably fair, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, we're going to need Morsey and Evans to kind of get control of that part of the pitch and really look to kind of dominate. And what I like is the way obviously they've started so well this season. But I've been so impressed with Lee Evans in particular. We know what Morsey gives us. You'll get the box-to-box, the energy, the demanding standards of people. But you've got obviously that safety net now in Lee Evans, haven't you, where he will just, sit slightly deeper. And if Bannon is one that's looking to, pick up the ball and run, then you've got Evans who can kind of hopefully keep him quiet. And that's very much, I think, where the game will be won. If we can get those 2 dominating and keeping Bannon quiet and then let our full backs, our 2 number 10s, Ladapo leading the line. He's a big physical guy. Obviously, we'll come on to our prediction lineup. But Ladapo leading the line, then we could do some real damage. I think midfield is absolutely crucial tomorrow.
Lee's saying we need to do what we do best at, let them worry about us. And that's a real psychological change that we need to kind of adjust it, and it'll be interesting to see how McKenna approaches it.
We're not used to that, are we, as fans? That's not something we've ever been used to. We've done these preview shows going away to Sunderland, and we kind of think to ourselves, well, we take a point, but you're more hopeful than anything. And this year it does certainly feel very different. And, we are starting to become, well, if we were to win tomorrow, we're 7 points ahead of them. And that's a massive problem for them. We know last season exactly how you can fall behind, and it can be very, very difficult to catch up that kind of gap. So, there's definitely something to be said for that we are the team that's top of the league. We are the team that's unbeaten so far this season, albeit perhaps with a slightly easier set of fixtures so far. But absolutely, we're now in an era where sides should be worrying about us, and we can kind of focus on our natural game and not hopefully specifically make changes to counteract threats. We just need to play our game that we've done so well. We're so drilled, we're so well coached. We know our patterns of play. We've got so much confidence. We've got goals spread all throughout the team that we shouldn't certainly go into these games fearing anybody. I don't think, and that's not always been certainly not been the case for our time back down in League One at all.
Yeah, and you always risk. an unfamiliar setup is the tough games like this. You don't want to confuse the team. I know that we're probably coaching away where we've got maybe 4 or 5 different ways of playing and systems and so on. But we've established a way of playing this season. You just want to stick to it. To Lee's point, I'm going to start thinking about us. We've got some comments here which will help us along those. The thoughts about what we might do. Skip, I guess we've maybe debunked this a little bit, but I wonder whether K-Mac might throw a curveball and play a 3 in midfield, which we talked about on Tuesday night, especially with Burgess out. James, Keogh or Edmondson, Ladapo or Gas in starting 11. Dom Ball to harness Bannon, says A. What's your thoughts there?
I think the issue is if you bring in Dom Ball, it's a formation change, isn't it? In reality, I know we basically play with a back 4 because Burns is so far advanced, but you're going to have to sacrifice because you can't drop Morsey or Evans. So you're going to have to sacrifice one of Chaplin or Harness. They are obviously our 2 top goal scorers and probably our biggest threat. So you're going to have to sacrifice one of them to bring Ball in. And I guess fundamentally it's more of a 4-3-3 with Burns one side, Chaplin one side, a main striker, and that kind of sort of midfield base. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I don't think it's the kind of game to make, sweeping formation changes. McKenna has played the 3 at the back for probably every game. I know it's a hybrid and it's basically sometimes a 4 when we're attacking, but it's primarily had those 3 centre halves with Danassian doing the hybrid role, and I certainly wouldn't look to change that for one of the biggest games of the season. Personally,
I agree with that. So in terms of personnel changes, then who to James's point here, who comes in for Burgess at centre back for you?
Well, this will be interesting, won't it? Because obviously Edmondson's not featured since the Northampton Pizza Cup game. And I guess this will tell us who the kind of 4th choice centre half is at this point. Obviously we had Keogh on the bench, didn't we? Not in midweek, but the previous game against whoever it was. I can't remember who it was now. But he was kind of seen as the backup option. Edmondson isn't injured; he's simply out of favour at the minute. But then McKenna dropped that in the post-match interview on Tuesday night, saying Edmondson had trained really, really well. So if it was me, I think I'd play Edmondson because he's more familiar with our 3 at the back kind of setup. I know he didn't have the best of games at Hillsborough last year, but he is kind of more used to that formation and the style of play. But I think whoever we do play, I'll be quite clear at that point that either Edmondson is out of favour or he's had a bit of a dip, been rested for a bit, trained really well, and got himself back in the side. It's a really interesting one. I'd go Edmondson if they're both fit and all things being equal. Personally,
a lot of people talking about Greg Lee, maybe as a left footer.
Yeah, well, it adds the natural balance, isn't it? That's the nice thing about having Burgess in there. Burgess has done
good in the air as well. Sorry,
he is, strong in the air, and you might need that against the set piece threat and the kind of general physicality of them. That I wouldn't be adverse to that either. I don't know how many times he's played kind of left centre back in his career, but obviously he'd have Wolfenden and Davis either side of him, I guess, kind of talking him through the role. But he would have certainly that physicality, which could be useful from the corners and stuff. And he adds the balance, which is always nice as well. It's nice when we've got Burgess with that left foot, those crossfield diagonals that we've seen him try recently, and that's quite a good sort of weapon in the armory if Lee can do the same thing. But I don't know how much Lee's played at left centre back, and I guess it is a risk throwing in a relatively untested player somewhere like Hillsborough. If we're going to, no disrespect, Forest Green away, you're probably a lot more confident doing that than you are going up against the likes of Bannon, Gregory, Windass, and a full Hillsborough.
And who's the striker for you? I mean, Ladapo put in another good shift.
Yeah, Ladapo got the assist for Evans in midweek, led the line well. He's strong, he can hold the ball up, and he's got a ridiculously good record of scoring at Hillsborough as well. I don't know the exact stats, but KOA mentioned it in the middle of the week. His record at Hillsborough is pretty decent. I think he got a couple there last year for Rotherham. So for me, it would be him. I thought he did pretty well, led the line against Bristol, and I wouldn't make that change at all. And then obviously you've got the likes of Jackson and Ahadme to come on at 70, 75 minutes if the game plan's working out after he's been battering them and bruising them for the first part of the game.
I wonder whether Jackson might start. I just think I think Stockdale's playing out from the back is a mistake waiting to happen, and I wonder whether Jackson's pace may enable that. But Ladapo is no slouch either, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see, won't it? I mean, these are, apart from the Burgess absence, these are kind of positive thoughts to be having and interesting challenges for McKenna and Pert to be solving rather than, how the hell do we get anything from this game? It's a very different mindset, as you said. Let's do a few more comments before we talk predictions. Evening to Ian, who's welcome, our favourite Darlington fan. Good to have you back with us. Again, apologies if you've joined us and you're hearing some audio issues. I don't know if that's resolved.
I've not heard it now. It sounds like it's all good. Whatever you've done, that's fine.
I think I might have had an Apple charging cable across my microphone cable, so I think that's my fault. So apologies, everyone, for that.
Professionalism is.
I didn't even know I had it. I was just playing with things, and there you go. David Stockdale started his career at Darlington FC. There you go. Come on, Darley. That's what we want. And so did Michael Smith. So there you go. Darlington link there. Trivia. That's what we want. Pub quiz trivia. That's what we want. Lots of people talk about my microphone. Thank you, everyone. Love that. I think we've caught up on everything important. Let's do some predictions. We want to hear your predictions as well. Get those in right now. A has to be Fridge. Where would that leave him? Third? Yeah.
I guess that would be very telling. If Keogh comes into the side tomorrow, then I think something is definitely going on with Edmondson. Not sure what it is, but I guess something's happened in the last few weeks, because at the start of the season he'd have been nailed on. Him, and he was so good, wasn't he, for the first kind of, when he came in, was it September time last year? Okay, had the Bolton game, which was an absolute nightmare, but he sort of got stronger and stronger, and he was kind of thinking he might struggle to hold on to this somewhere if he'd have kept going and hadn't got that injury. But for whatever reason this year, I don't know if he can't shake off the injury or what, but he's not hit those heights at all.
Pretty serious injury as well, to be fair to him.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, so hopefully, like McKenna said, he's trained well this week. He'll come straight back in, and he's strong, and he gives you that option to play out from the back. And I like him as a footballer, and I'd like to see him play tomorrow. Yeah,
let's do some predictions then. Get your predictions for Sheffield Wednesday v Ipswich. Any other League One games? I'm going to get this out there early. It's not, apart from the few of the teams at the top playing each other, it isn't a vintage round of League One fixtures, but feel free to give us your predictions if you want them, and we'll come back to your comments to finish off the show at the end with a few bits and pieces of news, including some exciting news and more details to follow on the Flagship. So I will tease that, something exciting in the Land of Blue Monday to unveil shortly, but let's do some predictions. So we've had a bit of a break, an enforced break. So let me just remind you, Seb, in particular, about how we got on last time around, which is a couple of weeks ago now. Here we go. Oh, look at all those greens. That is what we want. And here's the league table, which you want to look at as well. So 14-8 point win. And there's the margin, 4 rounds. And there you go, 27-point gap.
You're so smug with yourself. You're so happy, aren't you? Look at you. You're just so, you're loving this year, aren't you? It's a complete role reversal.
I mean, what we've done is we've removed something where it doesn't require a huge amount of thought and, research and science, to use your words. And we've replaced it with something which requires some, to thought and consideration. And, we split the men from the boys, Seb. That's what's going on now. Yeah, I'm going to regret saying that.
Great, yeah. I really hope you lose this week.
Kevin Keegan,
really hope we'll clip that. Yeah, you've got too cocky already. You've peaked too soon.
I have.
This is like Room 101 last year, where you were storming into a lead, and then you went crazy and tried to get rid of throw-ins, and it all just went horribly wrong.
The thing is now that people liked to vote against me just to spite me. I can't control how fixtures and football outcomes are arrived at myself. So there's no jeopardy there. So
I wonder what made you choose this feature then over the summer months.
Let's focus on the games, shall we, Seb? And our one's last. So let's look at Accrington Cheltenham, and we're both going for probably a bore draw there, aren't we?
Yeah, Accrington have hit an awful run of form, haven't they? They obviously were unbeaten again until they played us. Lost that one, and they've lost sort of 3 on the bounce, drew the last 2 before that. So they're in a pretty poor run of form. I think they've dropped into the relegation zone as well. So Cheltenham, aren't a kind of where you would expect them to sort of be. So I think that'll be a fairly kind of 1-1 kind of tight kind of game. Nothing exciting going on there, I don't think.
Bolton Peterborough, another one of these top of the
big game
table clashes. You're going for a draw, interestingly.
Well, Peterborough are on a bad run of form, aren't they? I mean, I think including cup competitions, they've lost 5 on the bounce now or something. But that can't last forever. That's kind of my logic. Bolton have won the last 2. They're on a decent run of form, but Peterborough won't stay bad for forever with the options they've got. So I think they'll get a point, and that'll start to see them sort of come out of this bad run of form.
I think Peterborough away from home are not as strong as Peterborough at home. So I've gone for a Bolton victory there. Bristol Rovers, we saw them midweek. Lincoln, I think, got a good result midweek as well, didn't they? I think.
Yeah,
you're going for a Bristol Rovers win, though. Is that on the basis of how impressed you were with them on Tuesday?
I quite like the way they kind of, came to play football, and they certainly didn't park the bus or try and do anything like that. I guess, we saw the kind of overzealous challenges, which I guess is kind of a mark of a Joey Barton kind of side, yeah. But no, I was impressed by them. They've started reasonably well. They're certainly not down there struggling too badly. So I think their home form will be key to them staying up, and I think they'll win that one. I think Lincoln are going to be very inconsistent this year.
Yeah, I agree. Cambridge Barnsley is a kind of a close game. I've gone for the draw. You like Cambridge at home, presumably?
Yeah, Cambridge at home, unbeaten. Obviously, they're awful away, aren't they? Which is why it's a bit of a shame that last weekend's game was cancelled, because that'd have been a great time to play them. But at home, they're so strong. They're going to make the ground. Is it the Abbey? Have I made that up? Is it the Abbey?
It's got a sponsor though, hasn't it?
Right, okay. They're going to make that a tight little ground, hard place to go to. And Barnsley, I think, are one of those sides that are going to look amazing one week, a bit like Derby, look amazing one week and then struggle the next week as they kind of transition back to this level. So I think that Cambridge will win that one.
I'm just trying to I think it is the Abbey Stadium. I can't find
Yeah, I think it still is.
Yeah, I don't think there's a sponsor for that one. So next up, Derby, Wycombe. We're going for a narrow Derby win. Wycombe are inconsistent, aren't they? But Derby on a bit of maybe a poor run for them.
They are, but Pride Park, it'll be full, it'll be rocking. So at home, I can't go against Derby at home. I think they're at home. The fans and stuff will get them across the line in quite a few games. And like you say, Wycombe have been really inconsistent so far this season. I know they won their last game, but I think they drew the 2 or 3 before that. So they're not in an amazing run of form.
And we probably favour Exeter over Burton because it's Burton.
Yeah, really the Whipping Boys, unfortunately, yeah. Obviously, Jimmy Floyd's now left to carry on doing Sky on a Sunday instead of doing post-match analysis of their latest hammering. So they are very much the Whipping Boys so far this year. You've got to fear for them already, only being 8 games in, and Exeter, I think, will win that one.
And next up, we've got Fleetwood Charlton. We're not getting excited about that one, are we? 1-1.
And Fleetwood are the draw specialists, aren't they? They've drawn 4 of their last 5, so that's why I went for it. That was my science that I used behind that one.
Consistent for the 3 fixtures here. We've gone Forest Green over Morecambe and Oxford over MK. I don't think Oxford over MK is not a particularly controversial prediction, I don't think. But Forest Green, Morecambe, I wonder whether they might cancel each other out. But Forest Green, I think, won midweek, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. No, they drew midweek, didn't they?
Was it?
They drew midweek, I think, and won last all of the games before the postponement. So I've got that down as a Forest Green win.
Yep. And Port Vale, Shrewsbury, we both like Shrewsbury away from home.
They're sort of quietly, they're about, what are they, 8th, are they? So I know they were pretty poor when we played them, but they're there or thereabouts, sort of trying to touch kind of 6th space and stuff. So yeah, I just think on the road, I think they'll get a result there, and Port Vale will kind of start to revert to not being disrespectful where they probably should be in the table,
Portsmouth, Plymouth.
Another big one. There's 3 big games this weekend, aren't there? There's 3 of the big boys all going head to head on the same weekend. I've gone for a Portsmouth win. Obviously, they've won the last 5 on the bounce. They are scoring goals freely. Plymouth aren't as amazing away as they are at home park, and hopefully they'll have their confidence knocked out before next weekend. So I've gone for a Portsmouth win.
Yeah, I wonder whether we underestimate Plymouth a little bit. I mean, Portsmouth are good. We were talking about them on the Telegram group, weren't we? And how effective they are under the Cowleys. I wonder whether we underestimate Plymouth. Got a really good result a few weeks back at 2-0 down and beat Derby 3-2.
Yeah.
So maybe, don't know. Finally, 1-1s.
We've both gone for the safe bet here, haven't we? We've noticed we've got a Sheffield Wednesday fan, Nat, in the comments, who's joined us. He's going for a 1-1 as well. So I think that is the consensus. And I think, to be honest, would we not all probably take that? They're our biggest rivals. I know they're 4 points behind us, but they're a hell of a side. It's probably going to be the biggest attendance probably of the season, I would imagine. And they're going to be, it's going to be a really difficult game. I know we are now a different proposition, but I think, to quote Mr. McCarthy, if you offered me a point, I probably wouldn't get on the bus, to be honest with you. We had a chat in our Telegram group, didn't we? We said, how many points would you be happy with from the next 3 games? So this one, and then Plymouth, and then Portsmouth. How many points would you be happy with and not even bother getting on the bus, to quote Mick again? I think 5 was the consensus. So I'll leave the impressions to you, to be honest. But I think the consensus was 5 points. If we take 5 points from mine's gone Sheffield, Plymouth, and then Portsmouth, I think we'd all be pretty happy with that. I guess that means probably 2 away draws and beat Pompey at home, stay unbeaten, and just keep them at kind of arm's length for a little bit longer.
We had a couple of people say 5 points. If you higher or lower than a 5, feel free to get your thoughts in the comments. And welcome, Nat. Great to have an opposition view here. Hopefully, you can listen back, apologies for the audio. It's a bit crappy. That's my fault. You can hear our assessment, Seb's assessment predominantly of your team. And we're obviously worried about Barry Bannon. So no surprises there, but good to have you with us and interesting to get your thoughts. In terms of other bits and pieces of predictions, Charlie's going for a 1-0 with Jackson to score. Maybe me and Charlie think that Jackson's going to have a cameo tomorrow. Honey Badger, just hope it's not boring. No 0-0s or 1-0s. 3 points is 3 points, though, as he says. Skip's confident. 3-1 Ladapo brace and Morsey. I'd love a Ladapo brace, but Seb, I'm not sure. I see that. Do you?
No, I don't think it'll be. I don't think there'll be 4 goals in the game. I think this is going to be quite tight. It's going to be 2 passing sides who I think will probably maybe cancel each other out a little bit. So I don't expect a 3-4 kind of rip roar kind of game. I think it'll be tight. First goal will be key, obviously. If we can get it and then kind of frustrate them by knocking the ball around, that could go massively in our favour. But I don't think it'll be a high scoring game. You watch now, it'll be a 3-3 draw. I'll be sat on the Flagship in 48 hours time going, what do I know?
We've got a 2-2 from Mr. Ipswich. We've got a 5-2. Christopher is super confident. And David's a little bit more along our lines, 1-1 with a Ladapo. Here's Tony. I think we'll find out just how good we are tomorrow and produce a sensational performance. Comfortable 3-0 win. I want some of whatever you're drinking tonight, Tony, but good to have you with us. Loving that confidence. James, 3-1. Gassan scores. We haven't talked about Hadmay, sorry. Thoughts on whether he made a good kind of appearance as more of a kind of a disruptor and obviously got his man sent off. Be surprised to see him start, wouldn't it, Seb?
I don't think he'll start. Yeah, I think that'll be his role as one of the finishers, I guess, him and Jackson, or the ones on the bench that can come off in the 65th, 70th minute and look to kind of shake things up a little bit. I think that'll very much be his role. He did well the other night. He looked good. He's such a strong guy, and he's so strong and physical, and it's great to have that option coming on. But I can't see him starting. I think it will definitely be Ladapo to lead the line tomorrow.
Into Chris, another one of the Telegram VIPs. 5 points mean we remain unbeaten would be a decent start. Christopher wants 7. There's some poker going on for Michael in Brisbane, so all the best for that. I was going to do a poker joke, but I haven't got one off the top of my head. So play the man, not the cards, and all that fun stuff. Is Nats, David, we played Portsmouth, Peterborough and Bolton, so happy to be only 4 points behind. Yeah, tough games there. A lot of Sheffield Wednesday fans have talked about our maybe weaker set of fixtures, albeit we played Bolton. I think we played Forest Green at the wrong time when they had that confidence and momentum from promotion. I think there may be a different proposition now. Barnsley no mugs, as Sheffield Wednesday know as well. So yeah, clearly we haven't played the likes of Portsmouth and Peterborough yet. So as Tony has said, a real test of our credentials. Not an unbeaten 6 points from the next 3, like you suggested on Tuesday, Seb. Wasn't quite sure how that was possible. There's some science for Gary.
Must have been drunk on the happiness after the Bristol Rovers game.
Gary's going for a 2-1 as it goes, and Jules is going for a 2-1. Chapman and Harness, who are very popular with our friends at the Not the Top 20 podcast this week. Let's wrap things up on the predictions, and then we'll come back, do a few more shout outs, get your predictions, your lineups, anything else you want, and we'll be back in just 1 second. In terms of bits and pieces of information worth knowing, we are brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound Pub. Bustling it was on Tuesday night, so a midweek game, but it felt like a Saturday. A lot of people may be making up for missing out on Saturday's last weekend. So head to the Greyhound, perfect venue, pre-match, and any day of the week, frankly. What a lovely pub it is. Seb, in as few words as you can, remind folk how great Telegram is.
It's brilliant. It's great. It's fantastic. I'm looking forward to the match day chat tomorrow. Get involved. 2-week free trial. Then it costs $5. You cannot buy anything decent for a $5 at the moment, and it's well worth the money. You won't lose anything. Come and get involved. Give it a go. If it's not for you, walk away. But I think you'll stay.
Yeah, it's like Royston Vasey. You'll never leave. We talked about merch right at the start. We've got hoodies, beanies now because it's that time of the year, sadly. It's probably freezing today. Free shipping for the next 24 hours, depending on when you listen to this, and Saturday night. So do get involved in that. The quality is excellent, if we do say ourselves. And beware if you order in bulk. I'm not sure anyone will be ordering in bulk like we have, but Brexit has maybe made that a little bit more complicated and may result in you paying for some charges. Our supplier does refund those, but best is to order in smaller quantities to avoid that issue in completely. Back for the flagship show, we'll talk about Sheffield Wednesday live Sunday evening. Ben in the host chair with, 2 or 3 out of Ben, Dave, Craig, and Seb, who are Dave, Craig, and Seb. I think a hat trick of you are actually at Hillsborough tomorrow, aren't you? On Saturday, depending when folk listen. So we'll have got the inside track. We've got the eye on the actual match action there from our spies at Hillsborough. So come and listen to them and join in the discussion on Sunday night. If you've enjoyed this, please do give us a thumbs up. We really do appreciate that. Nudges us up the algorithms on YouTube. If you want to leave us a review on your podcast app of choice as well, we do appreciate that as well. We do read those, some very enjoyable ones we've had there. And obviously as well, if you're listening to this on a Saturday morning and you're going up on the coach or in the car and you want to tweet us and say hello, we do love to hear folk who are listening to the pod on the match day. So do let us know, do interact with us. And we might be posting stuff on our Instagram if any of those guys I mentioned give me some photos to post. So yeah, do interact, keep the interaction going match day. And obviously the best way to do that is on the match day chat on our Telegram group as well. Finally, I did promise a tease a big Blue Monday announcement, and I can reveal, and more details of this will be shared on Sunday, that we will be running another Blue Monday live event, in-person event, in a couple of months' time in November. It will be on a Saturday after an ITFC match. And I can also reveal, after extensive negotiations all summer, that we will be hosted by Ipswich Town Football Club. We'll be in the Sir Bobby Robson suite for Blue Monday live in a couple of months' time. So Ben will reveal all the details about how you can get involved in that, tickets and dates and all that kind of fun stuff on Sunday. We hope with the last one we did at Curve Bar was brilliant. We hope loads of people will get involved in that. And more details, as we say, will come out next on Sunday. And hopefully you guys will see as many of you in person as we kind of see on these chats. It would be great to see you all there. Watch this space. Seb, any more bits and pieces you want to add before? I think I've got everything right, haven't I?
Yes, I have 2 bits to add in. First off, everyone going tomorrow. It's a big crowd. It's over 3,000 tomorrow. Everyone, please note the turnstiles are closing from 2:55 till 3 o'clock to allow for the minute silence and the playing of the national anthem. So it's going to be a big crowd anyway, but it's definitely going to be one where you want to get in there early. If you arrive at the ground in that time slot, the turnstiles will be closed, and I guess you'll have to wait until the game's kicked off before you can come in. The other one I want to mention is a pre-match venue as well. We've got Tom Miller in the Telegram group. Tom is based in Sheffield with his brother Ben. They have a bar called the Neep Send Social Club and Canteen. It's got beers, it's got food, it's got darts, it's got table football. It's about 30 minutes away from Hillsborough on Penistone Road. There's a TWTD article about it, and you can Google it and find it dead easy. So an Ipswich Town fan bar before the game. Get yourselves down there. I'll be heading that way. Like I say, it's halfway between the town centre and the ground, and that's where you want to go pre-match. See you in there, hopefully.
Yeah, good stuff, Seb. Well remembered. Yeah, go and support a fellow town fan on opposition territory. Go and pack it out with blue and white, or red and black, or black and black if you've managed to get your third kit. I know a few of us are still waiting for ours.
On that, do you think it'll be the black kit tomorrow? You're the kit aficionado. We did wear the Adidas one last year, didn't we?
Yeah, I
blacked out one.
I wonder whether the stripes might be a factor in that. I wonder, maybe the club. I thought the club might have tweeted about it, but perhaps because of not being able to get all of them out as quickly as they wanted, they might not want to upset people. But I wouldn't be surprised, Deb, if it's the all black kit, because
do you think the one I'm waiting for has been diverted to one of the players instead?
Probably
not the size I've bought, to be fair. I think we're in trouble if any of them are wearing
no comment. Maybe they're wearing lots of Under Armour stuff and the kind of the sports bra GPS stuff. I don't know, but maybe it will be the black kit. Yeah, thoughts on that in the comments if you want. But yeah, it'll if not, it'll be the red and black, won't it? Let's finish off with some comments before we say goodbye. Nat, our Sheffield Wednesday aficionado, I think the manager wins the game. If that's the case, Seb, who's winning the game then? If it's an arm wrestle between Darren Moore,
if it's an arm wrestle, it's
Darren Moore, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's any kind of physical duel, and I think we're definitely coming off second best. I don't know. It'll be an interesting one.
I fancy McKenna in a race.
Sorry,
foot race. Running race.
Running away. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I noticed Nat said earlier he thinks the subs will be crucial as well. And I guess, that is going to be a very key tactical battle. I think it will remind me of the MK Dons game we had back in February, March time. It was a 0-0. And it was fascinating to see how McKenna played that one tactically. I think tomorrow might be very similar and be very, very close.
Chris reminding us about Ladapo's record at Wednesday, so fingers crossed on that one. And maybe that was Skip's thinking about Ladapo, wasn't it? Thank you, Michael, for your support. Good luck with the poker. Nat had Ipswich first on Wednesday. I had it the other way round. I think I might have had us third. I had Wednesday top in my. We need to dig out that.
I had Peterborough. That's not looking good at the moment, is it? I had Peterborough to win the league and us second. And you mocked me saying we'd never go from 11th to second.
Well, I lower your expectations. You'll never be disappointed. Thank you, David, for the plug for Telegram, and Jules as well. What else have we got? No, hopefully, it's a great away day. Sheffield, a great city as well. Brilliant. So, really enjoying that one. What else have we got? Stuart, Ipswich win on Saturday. Saturday way by me from Carcaloville. There you go. I don't know what any of those words mean, but it's great to have you with us, Stuart. There you go. David's coming over for a game. That's what we want.
Make sure you let us know, David, and we'll all meet in the ground. We definitely owe you a pint.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Oh, MW's got his shirt, I think. That's what we want. Pictures, MW, pictures we want. Charlie, thanks for joining us. And I think we'll end with some positivity. Ipswich have been a transformed team under McKenna. Let's hope that transformed team can do the business in this run of tricky games against top of the table opponents. Seb, I always ask you to sign off. I will do that now.
Have a great day tomorrow, everyone. A huge game, the biggest of the season so far. Things do feel different this season. Let's go into it full of confidence. As always, come on, you Blues.